we are proceeding, and Treasurer Nick Baca's father recently died. I don't know that he's going to be able to join us. He's not online yet, is he? Natural Resource Conservation. We'll be monitoring to see if anyone else joins. Okay, so at this point, we're going to move on to approving the special board meeting minutes from the July 30th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Sanchez, this motion approved.
Is there a second?
Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the July 30th special meeting. Is there any discussion or questions?
Madam Chair, this is Supervisor Goodman.
Supervisor Goodman, you have the floor.
Thank you. It says at the bottom that the minutes were amended as follows, but there's no indication of how we're supposed to know what that was. And the other thing is, I really question the need for this long explanation for why it says conducted in person. I think you could just say conducted in person and via Zoom or something and remove all of that explanation. Thank you very much.
You don't have the most recent updated version of the minutes. There was no amendment to.
I think it's this row of cars right here.
Oh, that was the road.
There was no amendment. There was a confusion about a date, and so that has been removed. So having clarified, this is the actual copy of the minutes, Supervisor Goodman. And if Natural Resource Conservation Sanders wishes to pull them up, but you have them before you, so I think we're okay focusing on the agenda. If there's no further discussion, we will move to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Cordova, this is Chair Cynthia Shreve asking Vice Chair Cordova your vote.
Supervisor Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez.
Supervisor Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman.
Supervisor Goodman, yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously. And now we move to the presentation of the Dan Goodman Award. Before we do that, I want to recognize that our very important, very important Valencia County News-Bulletin assistant editor is here. I say that the News-Bulletin is very important because a free press is essential to a free nation. And I think that in the days that newspapers, local newspapers, are closing across the country, it is a wonderful tribute to the hard work of the Valencia County News-Bulletin that that paper continues. So we're delighted to have you here to cover especially the award of this Dan Goodman scholarship. Dan Goodman, for those of you who do not remember, was a member of this board and left when he died a pot of money to award youth within our district. So that means within Valencia County, northern Socorro County, the Pueblo de Sleta, and the Pueblo of Laguna, youth from these areas for excellence in their commitment to conservation and to natural resources and environmental improvement. He was a visionary, and he lives through this award and through the memories of those who knew him best. I never met him, but I interacted with board members in my early years who did know him. So this is the 40th anniversary of giving a Dan Goodman Award. We had several people apply, and I will say that Mr. Watson's, if we all remember, we reviewed this carefully, Mr. Watson's application was stellar. And you don't often see stellar, so I just wanted to make those comments that we are very proud. We are really glad that your family's here. And at this point, we'd like you to stand, and we're going to read you I'm going to have the chair of the Education Committee of the board read issue your certificate.
And I would like to ask the other supervisors to join me. For the photo.
Yeah, we're gonna do the why don't you read first and we'll do the photo, how's
Okay,
that?
I'm gonna read it first and then. Certificate of Achievement, 40th, Dan Goodman Soil and Water Conservation and Environmental Improvement Award, first place. Presented this 20th day of August 2026 to Thomas Watson by the Valencia Soil and Water Conservation District. Signed by Teresa Smith DeSharif, our board chair, and by myself, the vice chair and the education committee chair. And this is your certificate. Thank you. And here's your buckaroos. Thank you.
This is a photograph, we're gonna open this up,
Maybe you could stand back here.
yeah.
I think, yeah, last time we were.
Yeah, this way you don't get the light, yeah,
Yes.
okay, is this good, assistant editor? So come on over here, and we're gonna have to hold this, and our education.
We'll take one with all the family and then with the staff.
Here, why don't you hold this, and we're gonna have to knock it in.
We'll do family and then all.
Yeah, family, come on in.
Wait. Where's Gail? Yeah, everybody in here for now.
Wait, I thought we're doing family number two.
Family was all in order.
Oh,
Now, wait a minute, are we squeezed in enough? Yes, now with the board supervisor. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, yeah, I love that.
The chair recognizes Thomas Watson to give us a very tiny idea of what's next. And perhaps our esteemed assistant editor of the paper, if we're quiet, may hear you. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, my name is Thomas. I graduated from high school in May. My plans are, right now I'm starting online classes at NMSU, and then in the winter, the next semester, I'm going to actually go down there and do a 4-year degree in vet and range science.
Wow.
And then after that, either go to a vet school, probably out of state, or see where my path takes me. But that's the plan. Belen High School.
That's my alma mater.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So
Royal and true, huh?
Yeah.
you're welcome to stay as long as you like or leave when you like. We are moving on through the agenda, but we're delighted that you and the family were here.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Chair Smith DeSharif speaking. At this point, we are on the topic of public comment. We did not receive anything by mail or by email, but we do have Mr. Eugene Pickett who asked for the floor. You have the floor. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Eugene Pickett, and I'm a resident of Pueblitos. And I see I'm on the agenda further down, so I won't make comments on that. But I just wanted to bring to our attention, I mean, we are definitely in a drought when people see this. You know, and this is the Soil and Water Conservation District. You know, so I mean, not only is it the mission, but it's the passion. You know, so those of us who live in the valley and are going through these challenging moments in time, continue to make ourselves available to engage. And I would encourage the staff and the board of supervisors as these opportunities that come forward for training that are gonna be lobbied at the state level, so the appropriations are gonna be in place to support a lot of things that will go on in USDA. But that agritourism and agroforestry, as industries that new programs or projects that can emerge out of this district, look forward to it, because the money's gonna be there. It's nice to see a young person that wants to go into agriculture, especially on the ranch and livestock side. Vets are premier. So just the opportunities and, what can manifest as out of this group, it's just tremendous opportunities, that are forthcoming. So just pay attention, and whatever I can do, I will continue to do, because I'm a resident, and I want to see Valencia County always shine. It's with the greatest amount of pride when we see an eagle step up and do something. That's great. That's great. So whatever it is we can do, and if you ask me, I probably have in the past said no, but I will always say yes. And, those amongst you that know me that way, it's an honor to be a resident down here. I always will be a resident down here. Always be a supporter of USDA. And I just wanted to say that. And thank you very much, Pam, for needling me again. And here I am.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we are on agenda item 5, highlights of district staff reports. And let's bring up the staff reports. We're asked for highlights. And I will begin by this is Chair Smith Sharif, turning the floor over to interim district manager.
Yeah.
That was the timer. You have the floor.
Thank you. This is interim district manager Michelle Dent. Some highlights of this last month. We have 2 new staff. Isaiah, I would like to welcome you. He's sitting right behind you. He's helping us out at the front desk for the next to the end of the year, and he's had incredible impact. He's answering the phones and answering questions of visitors coming in. He's also doing clerical work, helping us save time by doing a lot of scanning and sorting through old files and organizing them. So he's been a great help and good cheer to the office. We have another new staff member also started at the same time as Isaiah. His name is Zachary Matthews. He was YCC last summer, and he wanted to come back, but he found a way to do so through the youth development program. So he is back here as an intern, and he's working on the conservation unit area with Andrew, and he's helping a lot. He is completely paid through YDI. We don't have to pay anything for him, so we're getting free hours, and he's a very nice young man and a hard worker. So I'd like to welcome both to the crew. We also started the Master Naturalist program started yesterday. So we will have classes through the end of October, every Wednesday evening, and with some field trips on Saturday. We have currently 4 people signed up. I'm working on a 5th, right, Isaiah? So that should be going along through the next few months, and then I don't remember the exact date. The 25th. Lisa and I went to the Isleta Environmental Fair and had a booth there, and we were able to speak with about 60 people, attendees, throughout the day, and we both made our way around and talked to all the people at the different booths, and I think we made some good partnerships, and I think we'll be, invited some people to come down and see what we do, and I think we'll be going forward with that, and possibly having many of them attend the Desert Pollinator, or Desert Willow and Pollinator Festival.
very much. I'm gonna hold questions, for the end of the report, so I'll now, this is Chair Smithy Sweet, turning it over to our Natural Resource Conservation's Jeff Sanders to give us some highlights.
Thanks, Madam Chair and Michelle. This is conservationist Jeff Sanders, still in the habit of saying education manager. But so I'll start with that because I think all our programs are important, but education is a special place in my heart. So Lisa Walden and I, the EEA, the education assistant, so we completed rounds on all the schools in both districts, actually 4. The Laguna and Isleta Pueblo got in the door of both Pueblos, so Isleta is all but signed up at this point for field trips, and Laguna, I think this may be a first time for Laguna. We're trying to get them down here to Whitfield as well. So we're still working, a lot of work to do with Belen, but we're making good inroads there. So, what else? We've delivered on grants. We have water quality grants, not just weed grants. We finished all July deliverables and almost all August deliverables on those. I'll just go this time around, I'll just go through the photos real quick. If you have any questions, the highlights, I think that'll be the easiest. It takes a little bit of time to upload these photos. I'll just go through them. We also attended some events this month. We had a really good turnout at Ag Science Center this year, to the point where we had to send one of the crew back to print more materials on account of the turnout. So we made a lot of good connections there and learned a lot as well. Site visits, what you're going to be looking at later in the agenda. A lot of these plans stem from these site visits and soil sampling that we do as part of the district funding. Rain tanks have been very popular in light of the mega drought. So we made it out to Highland Meadows this time. This is a first time out for me, not for the board chair and the vice chair, but interesting. Again, this is very emotional water topics. Water water levels are going down, prices are going up, the community's not happy with this, so we intervened with some possible small-scale solutions we can do. Isaiah back there did a really good job with introducing what he does in the YCC crew here at a local Rotary meeting, and then I also offered solutions at that meeting in Las Lunas. We set up bioreactors there at Isleta Pueblo. For those of you that don't know, it's a fungal dominant composting system that we promote heavily here at the district. We talked about the school visits, and well, here locally, we have a little temporary tree nursery, so we'll be outplanting the turkey sanctuary. That should be turkey habitat, and we'll be replacing and augmenting those trees with hundreds more this fall. And there, our assistant Lisa, harvesting seed for upcoming pollinator festival. Much more, but those are the highlights. If there's any questions for either of us, we'd be happy to try to answer.
Are there any questions for Interim District Manager Dent or Natural Resource Conservationist Sanders?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Goodman, you have the floor.
thank you.
Make sure you introduce yourself. as
This
the
is Supervisor Goodman speaking. First, I want to compliment you guys on the format. It's very nice, it's very readable, and very well organized, so I actually enjoy it a lot. And so thanks for that. And I wanted to ask you, Michelle, what is the keyline imprinting workshop?
So, excuse me, this is Interim District Manager Michelle Dent. So to do restoration work for the noxious weed grant down at Rocca, we are doing something called keyline imprinting, and what it is there are natural low areas on the landscape where water naturally runs down, but what happens is when we have big storms, like the rest of the land gets very little, everything goes down into those runoffs. So what the keyline imprinting does is it rips the ground, so basically it goes down about 6 inches in the ground, Jeff, and they identify where those low areas, and they rip the ground open So water, instead of just going down the low area, it filters out through across the land. It's one machine that does this. So it rips, and then right after it rips, it throws seed. So we're gonna be throwing native seed down. So we'll be ripping the ground, throwing native seed down, and then there, behind that is a big roller with like 1 gallon, dimples on it. And so that pushes the seed into the ground and creates these 1 gallon, like, divots, thank you. And, so water can capture and hold there. And it's actually, has been shown to be really successful in restoration of rangeland areas. So that's what we wanna do, but we wanna do a workshop showing people this process, because I think it's really informative.
So, Madam Chair, I have one more question. So what are you, what size of an area are you talking about? Because I know the Ralph property, and it actually has an area that I thought you could make a pond, but it sounds like you've got other ideas.
It's the 20-acre upland.
The 20 acres, so all 20 acres you're gonna do that way?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting.
This is Chair Smith-Shreve. So that was part of the noxious weed grant, and it was vetted, I suppose it lands with NRCS resource conservationist Athena Cholas about it, Supervisor Goodman. This is the workshop will be an opportunity to display an NRCS practice that may be very useful in this time of drought. NRCS is gonna have an opportunity to speak to the board as other partners on this or other matters when we get to the next item on the agenda, which is our partner reports. And that's the way we conduct business. So are there any other questions or comments? As Chair Smith-Shreve, I would say that we were also, and it's noted in the staff report, that we were really honored to have renowned riparian ecologist for years with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Gina De La Russo here early this week. She drove all the way up from Socorro for a 7:15 a.m. walk and talk. So a working walk around Whitfield and to discuss the placement of some of these 300 tree starts that were donated by a local individual whose name is in the report. Anyway, that concludes our district staff reports. They, of course, are part of the record or attached to our minutes. So, hearing no other questions, I think we shall move on now to partner reports and correspondence. Is MRGCD online? I had reached out to Stephanie Russo-Baca, who said she was going to attend. We'll watch out in case she circles back. She's on first. NMDA is up second. Is technical specialist Meckenbauer online? Technical specialist Meckenbauer, who is our liaison with NMDA, is not online. You do have, actually, could you pull up the NMDA monthly report, please? Thank you. So, I wanted to point out a couple of things. The Soil and Water Conservation Commission is going to meet, it's gonna hold its next meeting September 15th. It'll be in person in Las Cruces. I believe that there still should be an opportunity to participate virtually, but we need to check on that. If we can scroll down a little bit further, because okay, stop. So, Soil Health Conference that is hosted by NMDA, it is in your packet, is happening on October 14th and 15th. If anyone from the board or staff wants to go, we can discuss this on our next board meeting. But it is an opportunity to learn. We do have a small budget for conferences and travel. Let's go ahead. And there's an opportunity to comment on rules. We get points for doing so. That makes us engaged conservation conservation districts. Okay, and this is a big topic, grant invoicing and requests. Just so you know, we've been in a series of communications with New Mexico Department of Agriculture about the inefficiency of this process of being awarded grants and capital outlay and having to depend for payment on reimbursement, which does not meet its own standards. NMDA is on a net 30, and we're not getting paid within net 30, so this is an ongoing topic. And then a Water Smart grant is open, and that may be something here on the agenda. Okay, so that's pretty much some of the things that I wanted to bring up, and you have this in the board packet, so there you have it. Okay, so now I'm going to call on NMDA. I believe our new district conservationist is here.
NRCS.
NRCS, I'm sorry, NRCS. You know, it's an alphabet soup, so I apologize. If you all would like to come up to the board or come up in turn, I don't know how you want to handle this, but April, could you introduce our new NRCS?
Yeah, this is Hector Alvarez. He's the new district conservation manager, permanent now.
Yay, we're so delighted. Would you like to come up to the podium? And you're also welcome to come up and, you had a question, Jill, you can,
I did, I had a question, but I have to go through.
after he does, sure, yeah, go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, so as April said, I'm the new DC District Conservationist with NRCS out of the Albuquerque Field Office for now. And I cover Valencia County, Bernalillo County, and up into Sandoval County, up in Cuba. Yeah, very happy to be here, very happy to be presenting today to you. Thank you for the opportunity, and look forward to being here at future meetings as well. I'll give you a quick background of who I am and where I came from. I'm an inner city kid from Los Angeles, California, born and raised in San Gabriel Valley. I was kind of smart enough to get out of there and travel up north to Humboldt County, where I got my degree in rangeland resource science from Humboldt State University, now known as Cal Poly Humboldt. They changed the name for whatever reason, but I got my degree in range with an emphasis in botany and soil science. I was able to pursue a pathways internship while I was getting my degree, and was picked up by NRCS and offered a position as a rangeland management specialist out of the Concord Field Office, which is in the Bay Area. So I was able to work on Mount Diablo, do what we're doing here, but out there with ranchers. And I worked with farmers as well, so did a variety of crop management and rangeland stuff. I left my position there in 2019 in December, right before the pandemic, and with me and my wife kind of thought about the idea of moving to New Mexico, and we just took the leap and did it. So I left my position there, came here with no job, and was kind of struggling there for a year, but I was picked up by P&M Resources. I was picked up as an environmental scientist, so I did work on a lot of transmission line, kind of distribution line, substation work here in the state of New Mexico, and also down in Texas. So I had a kind of change course for a while there. I applied to a position with the Forest Service, trying to get back into federal service, and I got a position with the Cibola National Forest and Grasslands, which is our local kind of more local Forest Service offices. So I worked at the supervisor's office, but I covered Sandia, Magdalena, the Zuni Mountains, up into Mount Taylor, and then the grasslands that spread from New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. So I was able to do a lot of project management work there as a NEPA planner, so a lot of policy stuff and a lot of field reduction, riparian restoration, yet very unique, ecosystems that are still resident here in some of these areas. So I picked up a lot of knowledge there. I applied for the position as a DC about a couple months ago, and to my surprise, got that phone call saying that you got it. So I was super happy. So I just started last week. This is my second week in this position. I'm fairly new. I don't know not nearly as much as April, but I hope to one day be on her level and learn from the folks around me, like Jill as well, who's up in Cuba, and then Roxanne, who's at the Albuquerque Field Office. So that's where I'm actually currently, that's where my desk is, at the Albuquerque Field Office, which is just few levels down from the state office. Very happy there, and just happy to get to know all the folks with the SWCDs. So that's kind of a little background. So I can kind of start going into the report now. If you have any questions about my background, we can talk about that after.
Could you hold for one moment? This is Chair Smith Shreve. We're gonna pull up your report too.
Oh, perfect, that'd be great.
Just be a second. Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, great. So yeah, this is dated August 13th is when I sent it out. So Art came from the state office and is now our new North Area Assistant State Conservationist for Field Operations, who is my superior, and then I am the new DC, and then the rest of the personnel are fairly consistent. I think there was Aiden who's fairly new, I think about 6 months here. Other than that, everybody's been here for a little bit longer than that. So some program updates. We're currently in a state of obligation. So Team 2, EQUIP, 3 out of 3 have been obligated for Los Lunas. CSP, 1 out of 1 has been obligated, and I'm talking about contracts, right? For Cuba, for EQUIP, 5 out of 6 have been obligated. We got 1 pending, and then we didn't have any CSP for Cuba. Albuquerque, 3 out of 4 for EQUIP have been obligated, and 1 is in approval status. CSP, 1 out of 1 and have been approved. So kind of what I was talking about, we're in this kind of period where we're trying to finish the obligations. So last Friday, the 14th, was the end of our eligibility period, where participants resolved all their outstanding eligibility with the Farm Service Agency, and we got all that situated. And so we're working through our obligation period deadline now, which is tomorrow, trying to get all our applications approved. That's just an FYI on kind of where we're at with the year-end schedule. There's some other here that was listed. This was kind of put together in conglomerate with some of the stuff that Jill had. So some new mission statements that came out, vision statements, and the new motto: keeping working lands in working hands. So you can kind of read through those. One of the things that we wanted to bring up was our local work group meetings, which are held on a yearly basis. And then I just wanted to mention that this needs to be actually scheduled sometime between the 9th and the 17th to meet our September 18th deadline. There is a public notification period of 14 days of when we decide on that date to let the public know. So given that date, we're trying to get dates situated by tomorrow if possible, and if we can get that out sooner than later, no later than probably Monday, we'd like to get that 14-day period going so that we can schedule the meeting sometime between the 9th and the 17th. Some points that we would probably want to kind of resonate and think about a little bit more is kind of when, where, and who will be hosting the local work group meeting this year. Will the meeting be in person? Will we have a virtual option? And then what kind of option would we be using? And then how will this invitation be announced? So we can talk more about that if you have any questions after, but I do know that there is kind of a working group within the SWCDs that gets together and discusses some topics that we kind of reflect on for our future fundings. So another thing I wanted to go over was our reorganization. So we're going through a reorganization that's a national thing. Fortunately for us in our state, we have already kind of made some moves in that aspect. I believe it was 2014, around that time is when the individual districts were conglomerated into teams. And so a lot of that is being done in other states. Lucky for us, we kind of already did a lot of that movement. So there won't be a lot of changes to our staff. As a matter of fact, I don't believe there will be any changes, except for about one person that's in the state office, I believe, that will get a letter saying that they will have to move to someplace, or rather, I'm not really sure who that person is, but they will be let know probably this week, I think is when they were sending the letters out. And I'll go over some of these numbers that were presented by Javier. So full-time equivalence is based on our workload, and based on our workload, and therefore we develop our staffing numbers on that. So what they come up with was the 187 full-time equivalent for our state. meaning that we can hire up to that 187 number. Considering we have partners that we also we have 34 partners at the current moment that are full-time, part-time staff. Taking that out gives us about 150 that are going to be potential hires, or not potential hires, but we're trying to shoot for that number for NRCS. Our current full-time equivalent is 112. Those are the current numbers. So we do have a gap there that we can be potentially filling in the next year or so to get to that 150. Like I said, we have about 34 full-time, part-time staff positions that are funded in partner agreements. We will continue to work collaboratively with our conservation partners to leverage our technical assistance funding to provide service to farmers, ranchers, and forest producers, landowners in New Mexico. And then just overall, we have 11 NRCS teams, 34 field offices in New Mexico, and like I said, we're trying to get to that 150. I kind of went over that, the letters that will be sent out. So far, none of my staff have received anything that says anything different than no change, which means that we're all going to stay in the same place. So just some notes at the end, just kind of going over the chief and some of the things that he said, but you can read that on your own time. Do you all have any questions for me?
Madam Chair?
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
Thank you. This is Supervisor Goodman. Hector, with regard to the local work groups, who is your who is it that you really want to have come attend those meetings? That's the first part of my question.
Yeah, and you know what, Jill and I have been talking about that. I think Jill has a little bit more background, so I would probably shoot to her to kind of talk about that a little bit more. I'll pull in my constituents.
So April, Roxanne, and I have been the lead planners, the solid lead planners through all this craziness of interim DCs. And so it's been a while since I've led a local work group meeting. I believe the main invited folks invited folks are the federal agencies, right? Do we invite farmers anymore, April?
Yes, actually
So
that
we
is
did
our
use to do
target.
Right, we used to do farmers, and then we switched and we did just agencies, and now we kind of do this. So, are we doing a combination now, agency
it's
staff
supposed
as
to
well
be.
as farmers?
It's supposed to be the conservation districts, board members, staff members, and all the farmers and ranchers, at least that I've seen, and within all of our field offices that get invited and work with us, that we have the contact information, emails, addresses, and also like BLM, Forest Service, State Land Office employees,
State
you know,
forestry,
State
all
Forestry,
those guys, yeah.
all of our partners.
So it'll be a long list.
Well, so,
You have to address the chair.
Madam Chair,
You have the floor,
Jill.
Supervisor Goodman.
Jill, Hector, April, Dendinger, anyone else who wants to listen. Okay, so I thought though, when I have attended a few of the meetings, and I sort of thought that the purpose was to give you input on making your program more attractive, more accessible to our local agricultural producers. Is that not correct?
That is partially correct, yes ma'am.
Okay.
We want input on what the resource concerns are, the highest, the most important resource concerns from all four districts, and then we put it together, and we put out our rankings. So it's a way to influence, perhaps this year, everybody's got a big issue with weeds. Or we've got a big issue with erosion, or something that is a higher importance than in other areas. So I'm up in Cuba, and so my guys, of course, are gonna say fuel reduction, fires, okay? But we're in the forest. Now that's very different from what you guys have going down here. You guys are probably at the point of, where do we get more water? So we want the input from the local farmers and ranchers, but we also want from the agencies as well, because they'll have different different resource concerns that they want to address as well. So I also wanted to bring up that the local work group meeting doesn't have to only be once a year. We have a minimum of one formal meeting a year. It was brought to my attention through a letter from Gail, I believe it was.
That was me.
That was you, Miss Gail. And so, the concern is that sometimes our meetings are set to where the ranchers can't make it, the farmers and ranchers can't make it. And so I found over the years, it's hard to find one meeting that everybody can make it to. So up in Cuba, when I was the DC at that time, we had 3 or 4 a year. I had one that was like in February that was great for all the federal agencies. They came in, we sat for an hour or so, they gave me their scoop. They also start their work plans for the following year in February. So it helped them adjust what they were wanting to do and address and how we could help with our programs. And then we would have another one that was more conducive to meeting with our ranchers and farmers. That was a different time of year when they weren't so busy with cabbing or hauling their livestock or running water all the time. So I would like to encourage the districts to not rely on just one meeting a year. You guys can have your separate meetings with your farmers and ranchers, collect that data. The other thing, as planners, we pick up that data, we pick up the the concerns from our producers. They bring them to us when we're out in the field working with them. They're telling us, oh, we really got this problem, this is really a big problem. So we're writing those down and we're keeping track of those, and we bring those to the local work group meeting as well. Does that answer your question? Partially?
Yes, partially because I don't have obviously I don't have an in-depth understanding of what kind of data you're trying to collect, because
We're gonna have to carry that offline, Supervisor Goodman, because we're getting behind. I think we've heard, we can have you follow up with Hector, Jill, and April, but
I can
yeah,
share.
one of
Yes.
the things, this is Chair Smith speaking, one of the things that we have done in the past was to have each SWCD in the area have its own local work group. Now, with all the cuts, that was moved down to, to have these within teams, so several conservation districts. I think we're up to 4 now. That becomes a little bit difficult, but I will tell you that last year, from the request of the 2 large pueblos in our district, because this is not a county organization, we had our local work group meeting at the Isleta reception center in Chicala on the Pueblo of Isleta. Subsequently, because there was so much demand for more information from farmers and ranchers, particularly from the Pueblo of Isleta who attended, we held another meeting organized by lead planner April Luna, which we attended and tabled that. So we don't have much time between now and the time that you're wanting to convene a meeting. So I'm not certain how we figure this out, but we can take that offline and give you some ideas on what dates might work for us, and with the proviso that we may want to have other meetings like you suggest.
So I do have a question. Last year when it was decided to be held at the Isleta Pueblo, right?
Yes.
There was a big demand for that, so that made it easy where we were gonna go. My understanding was that on the team, each district took turns on hosting that meeting. And from one of the other districts, they thought it was Cuba's turn. However, somebody else from one of the districts said that Valencia was very interested in hosting it. So you 4 districts will decide amongst yourselves on whether you guys want to host that meeting, who wants to host it. We kind of don't get in the middle of that. We let the 4 of you get together. If you do a rotation, that's fine. If some group really wants it and everybody else is agreeable to it, we're fine with that. And then Hector and I are gonna be, and probably April and the rest of our staff, will be looking a little bit at some of the stuff that was done last year. We're gonna be picking Nick's brain a little bit, grabbing a few other things and putting this together. It's been about 10 years since I've led a local work group meeting. So I'm gonna grab some of the notes from some of the old ones and we're gonna put our heads together and we're gonna put up something. And then we'll be working with whatever district decides to host it. So that's about all I can get. April, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I can help, doing the meeting, because I've actually, in my other team, we all actually, staff members took turns on different
meeting, pretty soon here, cause I have to turn it over to stay on time to our friends at Woodfield, but I do wanna say one thing if there are no other questions. You have a question,
Just,
Troy?
not a question, just a quick comment. Thanks, Jill, for coming down. It's a pleasure meeting Hector. I just wanna welcome him. So he's,
Stephanie's trying to change.
she's online. So Hector, his experience, interest, and is proactive with biochar. And I talked to him, so not only, I mean, he's quite humble, and he actually is a Valencia County resident here. He has a couple acres to do some on-farm trials and a lot of resources with something we do all the time here, and that's biochar, so thank you for that. And also, I was here to witness, April over there signed a contract with a local producer in this office with, I believe, 2 more coming up, right, this
Yes.
week? So they didn't mention that, but I wanted to just emphasize how important this partnership is with USDA having offices back here.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that. That's all.
So finally, before we move on, I'm gonna say that, Hector, or District Conservationist Alvarez, we were the first soil and water conservation district in the nation when the cuts began to say, no, you're not leaving our area. And we provided this wonderful opportunity for NRCS to maintain a Los Lunas field office at Whitfield Wildlife Conservation Area. From our part, our collaboration has grown. We are delighted, and you may see a slab out here on your way out. Within the next 6 months, our official administration building is gonna go up, so there will be real office space for NRCS where you won't be in a bullpen. So welcome, we hope to see more of you.
Thank you, and you will see more of me, definitely. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Our biochar is not alkaline also. It's acidic or neutral.
Gotcha.
Great for our
Good to hear.
cells. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna let you all return to your seats, but do you have a question? We do need to move on. I'll give you the floor. This is
I
Chair
just had one
Cynthia Street
quick-
recognizing,
Jill.
lead planner Mumford.
Thank you. I did have a question about your key lining, and maybe I can talk with you after the meeting. We have a guy who does some of that in range up in the Lindrith area. And my first question, my biggest question is, how long does that system last, that key line? How often do you have to go back in and recut the land open? Do you know that?
That's a very good question that we can talk about. It depends on soils, a little bit of management, the crop species, the cover crop species you're gonna put in ground, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but that's a good question that we need to ask the guy we've been working with.
So I
He's
would
coming down,
definitely
so-
ask you after the meeting.
Yep.
We used to offer that as an NRCS practice. And we don't for some reason, and I don't know why that switched,
It's still
but
on
I
the books.
see it coming back.
It's still on the books, actually. I confirmed that with Resource Conservationist Cholos. It's still an NRCS.
It might be on the books, but it's not allowed out of New Mexico right now. So we'll have this big list that's like a national list, like we have roof water runoff for houses, but we can't do it in New Mexico.
Yes, we can. We're allowed to capture rainwater in New Mexico. Anyway,
NRCS is not allowed to cost share on
okay.
it, is what I meant.
Okay.
So, anyway, but thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Welcome. Okay, we have MRGCD, Board of Directors, member at large Stephanie Russo Baca has joined us. This is Chair Smith Sharif. I'm gonna turn it over to you. Welcome, Director Russo Baca.
Thank you so much, Chair. I apologize for the delay. I just left the state engineer's office. Just as a quick update from MRGCD, I also included the links for the frequently asked questions from the farmers meetings that we had with the MRGCD. And so that way you can see what was the outcome of those meetings, including the one in Valencia County, as well as Ann Markin's hydrology report for August. Just as a quick so I think that really speaks to, really what type of water situation that we are in. You may still see, flows coming into Valencia and Socorro counties, either through, in Socorro County, like the Rio Puerco or the Rio Salado. Any inflows of stormwater, MRGCD will utilize in order to keep farmers, non-public irrigators south of Isleta. We'll capture it and use it. We haven't seen the monsoon season that we were hoping, of course, and so we're hoping also for El Nino this winter, but it's still projecting. It's hard to say right this early in the season. And Markin said, not until really we're looking at January, February to have an outlook for next year. And I will keep it short and stand for any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Russo-Baca. Are there any questions for Director Russo-Baca? Thank you very much. Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to the President of the Friends of Whitfield, Michael Melendez. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors. I'm Michael Melendez, Friends of Whitfield President. We're a 501c3, an adjunct to the Valencia Soil Water Conservation District. A lot of you guys are doing a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on, and Friends of Whitfield do all we can to kind of keep up with it and provide volunteers who are members of Friends of Whitfield, keep these volunteers aware of what's going on, and step in where we can with volunteers who want to enjoy the outdoors. And that's what we primarily focus on, is having fun in the outdoors, bringing some of our knowledge and expertise to add to the operation here at the Soil and Water Conservation District. Our Vice President, Eugene Duran, he's been on board with Friends of Whitfield now for about 3 months, and he's very excited about what's going on here. He spends probably a little more time here than most of us here. And I encourage him to keep his ideas within the Friends of Whitfield. Often we members come up with bright ideas and want to share them with the staff here, but the staff is busy doing what you're doing. And we want to interject our expertise at the right time and in the right place. And that's basically communicating, keeping both organizations aware of what's going on, and helping out where we can. One of our bigger projects right now is fundraising. We're looking at applying for a grant through the credit union that we bank with, Nusenda. We want to keep our funds up because we do, as Friends of Whitfield, we do provide funding for the educational assistant that is used on board here on a daily basis or part-time basis, and pay for transportation fees that are ground up through busing students from their schools to on-site operations. And so we want to keep our funds up to assist in that and stay abreast of what's going on. It does mean staying in tune with the website here, what's going on, programs going on, and letting them know where we can step in, or expecting them to call on us for volunteers. We have like 300 members, and it means letting them know what's going on and bringing them in and giving them a little training on what's going on and what they're expected to do. That's what we do. And that's what we've been doing for the next month going into fall. So we're looking forward to that. Any questions or comments?
Just real,
Yes.
You have the floor.
this conservationist, Jeff Sanders, the emails, for example, when I send out any emails to any of your members,
Yes.
you're still having Outlook issues,
Yes.
email, you need to,
We need to get our Teams,
Okay.
Microsoft Teams set up. Somehow I've been blocked out of it, so I need to get that back online so we can communicate on that medium. Right now, we're pretty much using our own emails within the organization, Friends of Whitfield, and of course your emails. But I'll give you my personal email so that you can use that for the time being.
Thank you very much. We are just a few minutes behind. Thank you for your report, President of Friends of Whitfield and Mike Melendez. We are now going to move into the Treasurer's Report, Budget and Accounting, and we have our contracted CPA, Johnny Mangu, with us. The first item would be 7A, to review and approve the monthly reconciliation reports for Wells Fargo and United Business Bank accounts. Of course, our Wells Fargo account is our general fund, and we will pull up that item. It should be listed as 7A1. Right. And Mr. Mangu, did you want to walk us through that? Is it with you, Vice Chair Cordova, that I was just directing to him because our
Yes.
treasurer is absent?
By all means, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mangu, this is Chair Smith-Day Sharif. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. Thank you for having us here today. I'd like to present the Wells Fargo bank account 1010 at statement balance, beginning balance $127.81. The ending balance was $286,190. I'd like to point out a couple of large transactions to Kiers Facility Services, one for $50,563, and then another one for $45,521. That's pretty much all that we have that's significant for this month. If you have any questions, I'm here.
This is Chair Smith-Day Sharif. Thank you very much, Mr. Mangu. Are there any questions from the board?
Madam Chair.
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Goodman, Mr. Mangu. What is the difference between the 1010 Wells Fargo, and then it seems it's a reiteration of this more or less on the reconciliation report memos?
Okay, Supervisor Goodman, this is Chair Smith-Day Sharif. I'm going to exercise Chair's prerogative to remind you that these questions need to be addressed and answered, technical questions like this, before the meeting. I'm going to answer that question. The memo is something that board members have requested time after time to provide a little more information than the pure reconciliation report. That is the purpose, and that is what that is. Okay?
No, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Mangu, though, the fact that one of them includes expenditures from the previous month, and then the memos are just July. They're the complete expenditures and deposits from July. Is that the major difference? And the memos are very helpful. I appreciate it very much, but I just don't quite understand, because it's obviously the same thing as the 1010 report.
Right, so it is the same thing. We just have the ability to add detail in the memo line to explain kind of what information we have regarding those transactions.
All right. Thank you very much.
Is there any other question with regard to the Wells Fargo reconciliation report for the month of July? This is part of our business. This is board oversight of bank accounts that is essential and a requirement for good business practice. So at this point, if there aren't any other questions, Supervisor Sanchez, do you have a question?
No, I'm good to go.
Yes, at this point, I would be calling to make a motion to approve the reconciliation report for our general fund at the Wells Fargo Bank, account number 1010. And you have the floor, Supervisor Sanchez.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the reconciliation report for, July, the 10-10 Wells Fargo meeting.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova will second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the reconciliation report for the month of July 2026 for the general fund at Wells Fargo, account number ending in 1010. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote, and I'm reminding supervisors that these things need to be attended to at each meeting. Vice Chair Cordova, what say you?
Cordova, yes?
Supervisor Sanchez, what say you?
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman, what say you?
Abstain.
And Supervisor Chair Smith-Sharif votes yes. Motion is unanimously voted on, but the motion will have to be tabled to the next meeting because we do not have 4 members voting in favor, and we must have 4 voting in favor. And I'm going to ask if this is going to be the pattern for the rest of the very important reconciliation details that we must do every month. We're going to have a very long meeting next month because we will have to take up once again, isn't that correct? You were former treasurer, Vice Chair Cordova. We have to take up these reports and the month of August reports at our next meeting. Would that be correct?
Correct, yes.
So, your vote stands, Supervisor Goodman?
Madam Chair, since I have absolutely no input on these budget items, expenditures, invoices, I've never seen an invoice, I've never seen a documentation. I'm responsible for these expenditures, and since I lack the information to make an informed decision, I am obligated to abstain.
For clarification of those in attendance, all of this information is available. It is duly explained in the memo. This motion will, may I have a motion to, well, this motion, there's nothing we can do. It lays on the table. It doesn't have, you don't need a motion to lay it on the table. It is laid on the table. It does not approve. Okay, we are now moving on to the United Business Bank accounts. We start with, it would be 7A11, which is, no, sorry, 7A3, which is UBB 1040.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to present United Business Bank 104 for July 31st.
That's not it. That's not it. One moment, please, Mr. Mangu. This is Chair. Now it is on the board. Please, you have the floor. CPA Mangu, thank you. You have the floor.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'd like to present United Business Bank 104 for July 31st. Beginning balance, $15,018. Ending balance, $15,018.
Supervisor Sanchez, this is Chair Smith-Sharif. You had your hand raised. You have
Madam
the
Chair,
floor.
I move that we accept the reconciliation report for 1040 United Business Bank ending, July 31st.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova seconds.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the reconciliation report for the month of July for the United Business Bank account 1040. Hearing no questions, we will proceed to a roll call vote. Would you please, would you please go back to 1040, Natural Resource Conservation Standards? So this is a very simple reflection that nothing is happening in this account other than interest earned is transferred over to the larger account. So having said that, there is no reason why this could not be approved. I will now proceed to a roll call vote.
Cordova, yes?
Supervisor Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we will now pull up, the United Business Bank account 1041 and ask that, this is Chair Smith Sharif speaking, ask that CPA Mangu, walk us through this particular account. And again, this account is the larger account, and there has been very little activity reflected here other than deposits of interest, generally speaking. Yes, interest earned. You have the floor, CPA Mangu.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. I'd like to present United Business Bank 1041, ending in July 31st, 2026. Beginning balance, $102,438. We have a little bit of service charge, $1.50, and interest earned, $17.40, with an ending balance of $102,454.61.
Thank you very much, CPA Mangu. This is Chair Smith Sharif. At this point, I'd be calling for a motion to approve the reconciliation report for the United Business Bank account 1041. Supervisor Sanchez, I see your hand is raised.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move 1050 United Bus Bait Scholarship. Oh, I'm sorry, the wrong
1041.
one we had before. I apologize. I make a motion to approve the 1041 United Business Bank reconciliation report for July.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the July reconciliation report for United Business Bank account 1041. Are there any questions or further discussion? Hearing none. Again, this is a report that should not have any difficulty in being approved. What say you, Vice Chair Cordova?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Goodman, yes.
And Smith Sharif, I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously. At this point, we are now ready to examine the monthly reconciliation report for United Business Bank account 1050. You have the floor, CPA Mangu.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'd like to present United Business Bank Scholarship Account 1050 for July 31st, 2026. Beginning balance, $834.64. Service charge of $1.50, and interest of actually it's a transfer from the other account of $8.03. Ending balance, $841.21.
Thank you very much, CPA Mangu. This is Chair Smith Sharif speaking. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none.
Madam Chair?
Yes, you have the floor,
I'd
Supervisor
like to
Sanchez.
make a motion to approve the 1050 United Bus Bank Scholarship reconciliation report for July.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the United Business Bank account 1050 July reconciliation report. Is there any discussion or question? Hearing none. Again, this is a straightforward matter. We will proceed to a roll call vote. This is Smith Sharif asking Vice Chair Cordova, what say you?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Goodman, yes.
And Smith Sharif votes yes. The motion carries unanimously. Okay. At this point, we are going to move on to the examination of financial assistance applications for standalone projects. And this was revised based on some updated information. And okay, so as we go through here, the application period for our standalone practices and for conservation plan, conservation practices that must have a conservation plan associated with them closes on September 1. However, we can approve, because of it's a slightly different, way that we've done business throughout the year, money depending, this could be approved from time to time. So we wanted to take a look at which of the applications that have come in are for, standalones and what the cost share would be. So I'm going to ask that, interim district manager Dent, confirm that which ones are, just standalones, cause it's not entirely apparent from this chart.
Okay, yeah, this is interim district manager Michelle Dent. It's the second chart that are the standalones. I put the first chart in, which is the current applications for the conservation plans that we have received thus far, just so we get an idea of how much money might possibly be going to them, so we can compare it to what we have left in the pot for standalones as well. So this one that we're looking at are the standalones for one practice applications. So we do have multiple hoop houses. This is a lot of it, most of it's water catchment and hoop houses. So there are, I think the total was, can you scroll down? The total was like $9,369 for the applications we received thus far.
Could we go up to, this is Chair Smith, should we go up to the first, chart, please? I understand that the drip irrigation hoop house, no, not that one, there was one that came in at $5,000 something for a water harvesting tank. Where is that?
It got bumped down to the standalone.
And where is it on the standalone?
It's the last one on the standalone.
Okay. Okay. All right, very good. Okay, so normally the portion that we provide for standalone conservation, the implementation of standalone practices to approve items, is capped at 10,000. We're coming in at 9,369. These would be, approved on a reimbursement basis, and, the monies that we have capped, so let's scroll to the top of this particular chart, we cap out mostly here either at a fixed number or at a 75% cost. So that is how for pollinators, the max is 300. We don't know that we're gonna pay 300 because we don't know if the person is actually going to show us receipts and prove that they planted specific pollinator and trees that's for $300, but this would be the max. So the reason this is before you now is to help guide us, and reduce some of the work, that's gonna be required, after the September 1 cutoff. So, I'd be looking for a motion to approve these standalone, practice applications. Supervisor Sanchez, you have the floor.
I have a question. Would you go over again that last, the $5,000 one?
Yeah, this is interim district manager Michelle Dent. So the 5,000 gallon, she approximates is gonna cost about $56.98 to purchase. We have a cap of $3,000 for water harvesting tanks.
So it's one 5,000 gallon.
Yeah,
And this would be used for,
water harvesting.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's already installed gutters, and so she needs the tank so she can water her.
So how big is that? Is that what we have out there?
No, 5,000 gallons is really big.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because I haven't seen anything that size, and not to say that toward those efforts isn't commendable, but is there kind of, how large can it go?
We wouldn't go larger than that. Normally, it's very difficult to transport and install such a.
Or not, aside that, the cost of it?
So these, for example, I have installed these on my property. I have the water tanks, and if I had installed them on the basis of what my expected direction would be I'd be going for a 5,000-gallon tank. However, I planned on a rain basis with use following, so that I'm not depleting my groundwater. I have a right to a well, but I'm trying not to deplete it, so I'm not going to accumulate at any given time 5,000 gallons, but this is not, this is, for a decent-sized roof, this should be about right for a normal-sized home in this area if we get upcoming rains.
And I guess that's the scale, is that, is one that big, or is one smaller, kind of the way you explained your situation? But,
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. So, if there are no further,
Sorry,
Supervisor Sanchez,
apologize.
you have the floor.
No more questions, but I move to approve I guess the one
Standalones.
standalone, yes, the one practice standalone applications. FY 27.
Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the standalone practice applications as presented in chart number 2 for fiscal year 27. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, I have a question.
Madam, pardon?
Madam Chair,
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
when you're talking about this 5,000-gallon tank, and then you said that the gutters and the rain gutters, et cetera, was that a different financial assistance grant?
Yes, it was Supervisor Goodman.
And when did that happen?
Supervisor Goodman, that happened last year.
What is the sequence of, Madam Chair, what is the sequence of permission to apply for these grants? One a year?
The way that we have this lined up is that people can apply for conservation program with a whole plan, or the practice, like these practices. However, this particular individual was grandfathered in because she was part of our conservation program assistance beneficiaries a year before we adopted the changes, and therefore she's eligible to get one of these practices. What we do, however, is make it very clear that it's one. It's not multiple like you could do when she first applied. The only reason I know this is because I sat and evaluated this with our interim district manager and our natural resource conservation to make sure we were following our own policies and procedures before we brought this before the board. I hope you have answered the question.
No. So Madam Chair, so then a person could apply 1 year for part of a project and the next year part of a project, but together that would be a higher award.
No,
than-
that is not correct. That is absolutely not correct. If you haven't been grandfathered in, and only one person was grandfathered in, if you have not been grandfathered in, you can apply 1 year, let us say, for a water conserving toilet not to exceed $300. The next year, you cannot apply for another standalone practice. You're either gonna have to go for a conservation plan driven project, or wait till another year. And that is so that we can try and serve more members of the public than not. So if I'm not hearing any further,
I have a further question.
okay, this is it, Supervisor Goodman. We need to keep going in the meeting. You have one more question you may ask.
Thank you very much. When we used to get these reports, we had the names of the applicants as part of the report. Will the final report identify each of the recipients?
That's a matter of public notice, yes. This is just so that there's not bias in the selection process. And we provide much more data for evaluation when we get to the conservation plan driven assistance, okay? And as far as I know, our specialist, our contracted specialist, and our former NRCS, Cliff Sanchez, has not moved forward on that as yet until we close the period. So, having answered questions, I think we're ready to move on to a vote. Begin with a roll call vote. This is Chair Smith-Shreve, Vice Chair Cordova, how do you vote?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes?
Supervisor Goodman,
Goodman, yes.
and Smith-Shreve, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda is review and approve the budget for the tractor and EV repair. This may be under the, okay, so we didn't, this is Chair Smith-Shreve speaking. At the time that I put this on the agenda, we did not know if these repairs would exceed the discretionary spending limit of the district manager or interim district manager of $1,000. This does not exceed that discretionary level. However, it is on the agenda. If we wish to approve it, we can. Otherwise, this can be approved under the discretionary spending authority of the interim district manager. How does the board wish to proceed? Vice Chair Cordova?
Under the discretion is my preference.
So then, why don't we make a motion to, this is tabled, given the discretionary allowance, spending allowance?
Yes.
You so moved?
So moved.
All right, so I'm gonna try and repeat that. Vice Chair Cordova moves to, table this, agenda item, given it falls under the discretionary spending limit of the interim district manager. And is there a second?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Sanchez, seconds.
It has been moved and seconded that we table agenda item 7C as it falls under the discretionary spending limit of the interim district manager. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was hoping that our Supervisor Joe Beam would be here because he seems to have a good deal of knowledge of equipment, but it seems like we're having an awful lot of tractor repairs and other repairs, and I don't know what this is a picture of, but it's certainly a poorly maintained piece of equipment. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about how we're maintaining our vehicles or tractors or other things. And it's just a comment, but I had really hoped that he would be here because maybe we need some help in maintaining our tractor and our other vehicles. Thank you.
You have the floor on Natural Resource Conservation Sanders.
It's Conservationist Sanders. So in the course of our work days here at Whitfield, we have 3 properties, almost 300 acres. I make sure that at the end of the day, tools are put away, equipment's maintained, trucks are gassed up. In this case, this is a relatively hidden area unless you get under and take a look. This EV was just, we filled distilled water in that EV like a week or 2 ago.
EV, electric vehicle?
Electric vehicle, yeah, that's our
ATV.
ATV, yeah. So yeah, the equipment is being maintained, and we're staying up on the tractor maintenance, filter cleanouts and so forth. But things happen with a larger staff and crew. But that's my personal responsibility to make sure this equipment going forward is maintained properly and on time, because this is a safety issue, so we have to
Oh, I'm
address
sure
it.
it is,
Yeah.
but I know that the equipment is, I don't know if you have a garage for it yet or any kind of a cover, but it was out in the open. So I don't know, I'm just a little concerned because every few meetings we have a repair, but you're
Sure.
saying that's perfectly normal.
Sure.
Thank you very much. We're going to now, I think you nudged me to call the question.
Yes, I did.
Okay, the question is called. We will proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Cordova,
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes?
Supervisor Goodman,
Goodman, yes.
and I vote yes. Motion, the item is tabled as it falls under your discretionary authority of your district manager. Okay, we are now moving on to a request from a former board supervisor for reimbursements and stipends for a prior fiscal year. There is no identifying information here in terms of things that could lead to identifying features such as social security number and things like that.
Yeah, they're,
It's white, it's blacked out, yeah. So, this is a request for reimbursement for two items. One is for attendance at regular meetings, and the meetings are listed. That is for the supervisor stipend of $45 per meeting. The second is for attendant, could we scroll down a little bit? The second is for mileage to attend meetings that were approved by the board. The total request amounts to $942.15. And as chair, I will indicate that the mileage was approved, but during that fiscal year, there was no request on record for a supervisor stipend reimbursement, being paid the stipend. And normally that is done within the fiscal year, and that is what I have to say. I will call on CPA Mangu. Is he still at the meeting?
He's offline.
He's off, okay. All right. That is the preamble. Is there a motion to approve any or all of the stipends and
Madam Chair?
reimbursements? You have the floor, Vice Chair Cordova?
I would like to, make a motion that we reimburse former board supervisor for all monies that he is requesting.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Sanchez seconds, but I have questions also. So given it's a different FY that we would be taking the money from, and how do we balance if we've already closed out FY
That's one of the issues.
in terms of
We have never done this before.
concern, and I guess, with, our company, maybe give us some insight on
Yeah.
that, so kind of hesitant on doing something that, if it's allowable, great, if not, I don't wanna put us in that position.
We've not
Till we
done
get
it.
that question answered.
We've not done it, and it does open a major financial risk for the district that those who have not asked for reimbursements going back to the time this district was established in 1946 could apply for meeting stipends outside the fiscal year. This has not been a practice, and that is a 100% accurate answer.
Madam Chair?
You have the floor.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I am one of the supervisors. I do not take my per diem, I do not take the stipend, I donate it back. However, I feel strongly that Supervisor Pickett did his due diligence, and if we can't move it now, I highly recommend that we at least consult our attorney to see if this reimbursement is possible,
Attorney or CPA?
or CPA.
Vice Chair Cordova, would you be amenable to a friendly amendment to approve at this meeting the reimbursement of the mileage, which was approved?
Okay, and from what I understand, just a little bit of the history is that it was requested, but our former district manager, Ms. Miller, lost it in space.
There's no
That-
record. That's possible. This is
That I
Chair's
just, that
issue.
it was, requested not once, but more than once.
It's possible. We've done a thorough, this is Chair Smith Sharif. We don't have any record of that, and we asked that it be in writing. We don't have that.
Madam Chair?
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
Thank you, this is Supervisor Goodman, but it is, mentioned in Mr. Pickett's, email here that it was requested and that he had commented on it and that simply what the form wasn't, he didn't get a W-9, and I don't know, but I can imagine that the paperwork was misplaced, number one. And number two, there was a little bit of an atmosphere of discouraging people from requesting a stipend, and so, you know.
You're out of order, Supervisor Goodman, there was no such, there was absolutely, during your time that you were not on this board, not an atmosphere of discouraging board supervisors from taking a stipend. You are not speaking accurately, and I'm gonna disallow that comment.
Madam Chair, you can disallow it, but it's on your Facebook page.
All right, so we have, are we, yeah, honestly, I don't understand, but this is Chair Smith Day Sharif, do we have a friendly amendment accepted or not accepted?
Only if we can revisit the other part, that I will do that. Other than that, I won't make the amendment.
Yeah, of course it could be revisited with more information.
Okay, with more information?
No, I mean, if you wanted to amend your motion to say that you move to this is a suggestion from Chair Smith-Sharif, that you move to approve the reimbursement for the mileage, request as had been approved by the board, and that we table to the next meeting the discussion of the, stipend reimbursement.
With the CPA input.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Okay. I
Madam
will
Chair,
read that.
So all right, let me record the friendly amended motion. Supervisor Sanchez, you seconded it. Are you okay with that friendly amendment?
I just wanted to add a friendly verbiage change to include a review of both accounting and legal aspects of allowing this reimbursement to take place.
I think I have it. It has been moved and seconded with friendly amendments, that we approve the reimbursement request from former Supervisor Pickett for approved mileage, and that we table to the next meeting the review of the request for monthly stipends with input from the accountant and lawyer. Is that all right? Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
Thank you. Why can't we just make the motion say that we approve Mr. Pickett's request, his entire request, contingent upon the advice, or however, of our CPA? I mean,
That is not,
I'm okay.
you didn't make the motion. The
Well,
vice
but
chair
I'd like
made
to-
the motion.
Is that a friendly amendment?
Was that a friendly amendment?
I don't think.
I would like to get this business done today, so I'm okay with that.
Yes, I don't have a problem.
Contingent, so,
Upon,
just as so as the Supervisor Pickett knows that this could not happen once
Yeah.
we go through all the legalities, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, contingent, I guess, is the operative word.
The motion, Supervisor Sanchez.
Madam Chair, point of disorder. So even if we're placed in terms of contingency, will we still have to make another, board motion to
Yeah,
present that?
it's essentially laying this on the table. That is why I thought the friendly amendment to approve the reimbursement for something that the board had approved, and it was, it was approved that this supervisor traveled to these areas and he did not submit the mileage, but that was approved. There's no controversy there, and I would rather see a supervisor who was duly approved to take some money home at least. but if it is the pleasure of the board to so change the amendment, to so change for full approval, it's essentially laying it on the table, so.
Well, Madam Chair, just one final word on it. It seems like all of these dates were from last year's budget.
That is correct.
So what's the difference between the stipend and the mileage?
There is a difference. When the stipend was not requested, but the mileage was requested and approved, we can pay for that, okay, we can. But there's no formal record of the reimbursement stipend being requested within that fiscal year. And we have precedent for when things are approved to be paid in the next fiscal year. There is precedent for that, but not if it weren't priorly approved. So, which motion is it gonna be? Cause we're gonna
I
need to
know,
move on.
okay, we'll go back to the First Amendment just to be safe
Okay.
on everything that we do.
So,
Okay.
are you okay with that? So, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the reimbursement for mileage for former Supervisor Pickett, and that we table to the next meeting the consideration of the reimbursement for stipends pending review from, the CPA and Blair. I will now proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Cordova.
Cordova, yes?
Supervisor Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes?
Supervisor Goodman.
Goodman, yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously. We can direct, interim district manager Dent to prepare the mileage reimbursement for former supervisor, Pickett. Okay, let us move on, please, we are, running behind, to 7E, review and approve the, part-time hours for capacity funded grant biller and for part-time custodian. Let me explain that if I may, former treasurer, Cordova.
Yes.
So we have already approved, that we need a part-time custodian. We did, have an application from a young gentleman who works with Adelante. Adelante is an organization that helps build skills and find employment for individuals in our area who may have some challenges with organizations due to varying levels of disability or age, and it is a recognized program of really helping people lead meaningful lives by contributing to their own futures. This particular young gentleman, he lives within our district in Bosque. He loves working with people. He was interviewed here. He follows lists. And the wonderful thing about this program is that people in the program are not just thrown into a workplace. They have a companion, a tutor, in other words, who goes out, a mentor, goes out to the job site and helps to make sure that the given individual with the job, can carry out the functions. You will be surprised to go to many areas within this district to find that people have gone through this program and are working and leading productive lives, contributing to our economy and their happiness. So this gentleman made a very good impression on our interim district manager. I'm going to turn the floor over to you to add anything more. I tried to summarize your report to me, and then I will comment on the other. You have the floor, interim district manager Dent.
Yeah, this is interim district manager Michelle Dent. I had the pleasure to interview Anthony. He was a very pleasant young man and very excited. He really likes the outdoors and was excited to help us out in any way he could. He has some experience doing custodial work. He's also volunteered to help with other projects that have been sponsored. And he really enjoys helping people, so I think he would be a good fit. If we can go ahead and prepare lists for him to do, and his mentor can help him with them. In until he's ready to do it on his own, but I think it would be a show of good faith to hire somebody from this program, so.
Thank you, Interim District Manager Dent. This is Chair Smith Sharif. So the issue of part-time hours for capacity funded grant biller, this may be needed because our district and financial assistant had planned to work 25 hours a week and is not going to be able to do that. She's gonna work approximately 20 hours a week. We really need the extra 5 hours. So we don't know if with our new clerk, office assistant, whether he will be able to take some of that load. I think at this point, you know, I had to put things on the agenda just in case we really needed to address them. But at this point, I would say we table the part-time hours for the capacity funded grant biller till maybe next meeting till we know for sure how it's working. And we just consider the employment for the part-time custodian, Mr. Anthony, what was his last name? Valeriano. Yes. Okay, so I'd be looking for a motion to table the part-time hours for capacity funded grant biller and to approve Mr. Anthony Valeriano for the part-time custodian position.
Madam Chair,
You have the floor, Supervisor
I'll
Fuentes.
support that motion, or I'll make that motion to support that verbiage.
Okay. Is there a second?
Supervisor Cordova will second that.
So it has, thank you both, now I'm really having to write really fast, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we table the part-time hours for capacity funded grant biller and to the next meeting, and that we approve the hiring of Mr. Anthony Valeriano as our part-time custodian. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
You have the floor, Supervisor Goodman.
this is Supervisor Goodman. Adelante is a wonderful program, and this is clearly a wonderful opportunity, and I am absolutely sure that this young man is a perfect, lovely applicant, and he can come here and volunteer, but based on what appears to me the needs of this district, we only have basically 2 supervising employees, and all the rest of the people who have come on board are individuals who need guidance and support and training, etc. And so I honestly think that we should be looking for a professional custodian who can clean and do and really fulfill the responsibilities of the job at this time. At another time maybe, but I just am a little bit concerned about how much direction all of these young people, we're gonna possibly get YCC employee, like YCC grant. These are young people that need direction too. So, well, that's my concern. Maybe you can assuage my concerns. Thank you.
Supervisor Goodman, do you shop at Albertsons?
No, I don't.
Okay, does anyone here shop at Albertsons?
I do.
Okay, I'm sure you have met one of the gentlemen there who is an aide there, and he's a bagger, he brings stuff out to the cars, and he always has a great joke of the day. His name is escaping me at the moment.
Mine too, but I just had a joke just 2 days ago. And also at Walmart,
Yes.
I would like to say that Walmart also is an organization that will take a chance on young people like this, or even elderly people.
That's correct.
Like this, and give them the opportunity to prove themselves. And he says he's really anxious to work and do well.
He will
I'd
have-
like to really try and give him a chance.
Well, pardon me, Supervisor Goodman, 90 days, has a 90-day period of a mentor that comes to the job place and makes sure he is following his checklist. He is of sufficient level that he reads, writes, and can follow lists. It's more likely than not that he's on the spectrum than anything else. He needs a little bit of guidance. This is not guidance that is going to be required from the staff. And I hope that I have made myself clear. And I hope the other contributions from other members here have done the same.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to make myself clear. I have no problem with the idea. This is not Walmart and this is not Albertsons. This is the Valencia Soil and Water Conservation District in this little room with all these desks and a need for a custodian. So I'm only questioning whether this is actually the right applicant. Not that it's not a wonderful person. Don't confuse the issues. And this isn't Walmart or Albertsons. So
Okay,
thank you, and
I'm-
I certainly will accept the judgment of those who are more familiar with him. I do have a concern, however.
I'm calling the question. Vice Chair Cordova?
Cordova, yes?
Supervisor Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes?
Supervisor Goodman?
Goodman, yes.
I vote yes, motion carries. We shall revisit part-time hours next meeting, and would you please welcome Mr. Valeriano? Okay, we are now moving on to Funding Opportunities Committee update and approvals. This is really more of an update than anything else. Forestry, we submitted a grant to New Mexico Forestry to continue our woody species. They are Class C invasive species salt cedar, Siberian elm, and Russian olive removal from our 279 acres. That grant application includes funding for the removal of the slash from last year's cutting of primarily Russian olives. I spoke with Forester Eugenio, whose last name is escaping me. What is Eugenio's last name?
Padilla.
Eugenio Padilla last Friday, and he thinks we're going to get it. It's a process for them to go through all of these applications throughout the state. Should we get this, it's going to really dovetail nicely with our noxious weed grant. That's the update there. We did get the New Mexico Farmer Innovation Grant submitted. Maximum award there is less than $20,000. I think they're normally giving somewhere around $10,000. We should hear in September, October whether we got that. And that kind of money, if we get it, will enable us to assist farmers and ranchers in the pueblos of Isleta and Laguna. This is a grant that is aimed at pueblo farmers and ranchers and deep rural New Mexican farmers. So that's that. Water Smart is an opportunity. You did not, yeah. Water Smart is an opportunity. It's a federal grant. We would have to apply to that before the next board meeting. Is that correct?
I believe so.
So we may want to apply to that. Here's why. Water Smart can help us deal with some large infrastructure requirements that are likely going to come out of as we begin to address the flooding issues from the uplands across the street into our conservation area. Even if when we excavate the upland ponds, we are still going to have a water movement problem or challenge, and the Water Smart grant could help us with that. So I'm not 100% certain that we're going to apply, but we would need board permission to see if we're going to apply, because the deadline, I think, is it early September before the next board meeting? Anyway, so that's that, and so basically, I'd be looking for approval to pursue a Water Smart grant if it's something that we decide to do, but we don't approve for it, don't go for it unless the board says, yes, take a look at it. Okay, and that could be several hundreds of thousands of dollars that would become available, and if we need to put, just so you know, if we need to handle the amount of water that comes down when we have these big flood events of 2 inches within an hour and a half to 2 hours, when our parking lot is taken out, we may be talking about needing to put culverts under the ditch, and that's huge dollars that we would not be able to fund ourselves. So, do we see the, minutes due? September 9th? No. No.
That's a project, who's trying
But it was at the top.
Anyway, it's upcoming, so look, we're not gonna keep you here until the cats come home, but, could we make a motion to approve, looking at, the Water Smart grant?
Madam Chair,
You have the floor, Supervisor
so
Portis.
moved the verbiage that you just used.
Okay, it has been moved, is there a second?
Madam Chair, Sanchez seconds.
It has been moved and seconded that we look to pursue a Water Smart grant. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
You have the floor.
this is Supervisor Goodman. I was just wondering, the Funding Opportunities Committee, I'm on that committee, and Supervisor Sanchez is too, and we were wondering, since we have never attended a committee meeting, couldn't we be of any help in this
That's an
planning?
offline conversation. Supervisor Sanchez has been of great help.
I
He has
I-
participated with me on it.
It's a committee
Yes,
of
I know
3
that.
people.
Yes.
Well, I have never received,
This is an off-topic conversation that we will address. Yes, Supervisor Goodman.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So is there any further comment? If not, are you calling?
I'm calling, please.
The question is called. It has been moved and seconded by, Vice Chair Cordova, seconded by Supervisor Sanchez, that we pursue a Water Smart grant. Vice Chair Cordova?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Goodman, yes.
I vote yes, motion carries. Okay, at this point, we are, at the area of executive session for the Open Meetings Act. And, where we will be calling for a motion as written on the agenda, and to be able to close the meeting, and, we are running behind schedule, but I imagine that we will be efficient in our executive session and return to the open meeting shortly thereafter. Supervisor Sanchez?
Madam Chair, I move that we move into executive session for the Open Meetings Act, 1978, or about the rest of the site regarding limited personnel matters, consideration complaints against a district employee.
Is there a second?
Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we close the open meeting and enter executive session per the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Chapter 10, Article 15, areas H and 2 regarding limited personnel matters and consideration of complaints against a district employee. I will now proceed to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Cordova?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Supervisor Goodman, yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries unanimously. I don't expect that we're gonna be long. You're welcome to go